Hello, everyone. My name is Matthew Neisler, and today we will be speaking about the magical world of Japanese youth culture. Now, a lot of us in here are fans of Japan or Japanese culture in general, but you may be wondering to yourself, what exactly is the difference between a Japanese youth culture and an American youth culture? Well, there's actually very many similarities, but there's quite a few differences as well. And today I'm going to be presenting over those. So, before we begin with the actual part of youth culture, let's go with the influences. So, the main influence that everyone uh, says is the biggest influence is actually Japanese pop culture. So the biggest elements of Japanese pop culture are anime and manga, video games, fashion, and music. So for anime and manga and video games, the picture in the middle is the representative of that. It is considered the otaku culture or the nerd culture. It is actually looked down upon if you are a nerd. It is becoming a bit more accepted, but it's still a little bit of a bullyish term. Like, you don't want to be the nerd, you don't want to be with the nerd, things like that. The picture on the right is of fashion. So, a lot of people say that actually the youth fashion is actually inspiring everyday fashion in Japan of more mainstream fashion. As you can see in the picture on the right, you got some various elements of fashion, and those are actually derivative of the youth rather than maybe the models and the actual fashion designers. And then on the left over here, we have an idol group. So similar to K-pop, J-pop is more regionalized. It's not as much globalized, other than in various anime and video games. Um, it's not like a worldwide phenomenon, like obviously like K-pop is, but it's more female idol oriented rather than K-pop, which has very many of both genders. Idols in Japan, while there are a lot of male groups, there's awfully there's an awful lot of female groups. And then everybody knows I have to talk about it. When you talk about youth culture, you have to talk about school. So school takes up most of a Japanese person's youth, which is obviously similar in a lot of countries. And for most, school is actually the most important thing in their life. It will determine things like where you're going to end up in life, and did you have good grades, did you go to high school, did you go to college, did you work after high school, things along those lines. And school is actually considered to be one of the most enjoyable times of your life. And the image on the left is actually a screenshot from a YouTube video where the man is explaining what Japanese people don't understand about American culture. And this scene in particular, he's talking about how Americans actually do not enjoy high school, and most of them did not enjoy high school. Whereas in Japan, his quote is saying it's one of the best times of your life. And then the image on the right is actually from a high school graduation where they will cry and they will bawl their eyes out because it is just such a sad environment where you're not going to be seeing your friends as much. You're not going to be in a in an area with everybody you know and you like to hang out with anymore, because you're going to go on and you're going to go to college, you're going to get a job, and all these other elements. So it's a very sad time actually. So various activities that they do outside of school. For the first one, I put actually eating out, which is similar to the 70s, 80s, and 90s of American youth. Eating out at fast food restaurants, hanging out at fast food restaurants after school is still actually a very big activity to do. Obviously, other than COVID-19 affecting this, but actually a big thing. Is you go, you hang out at the McDonald's, you hang out at your local diner, and you can sit there, you can study, you can just hang out with your friends some more, eat some food, do whatever you want, pretty much. And for entertainment, I have the main three. So from right to left, actually, it's karaoke, which is not only popular among the youth, but all the way up the corporate ladder. To be honest, you get off of work, you go sing some songs with your coworkers, you drink some beers. That's just how it is. In the middle, we have bowling, which is actually surprising to me because not a lot of people talk about this. But bowling is becoming of such a large, such a popular activity among youth. And then on the left, we have arcades, which are very large in Japan as well. Uh, and it's not only for youth. Like people will go there, they'll go there for their first date, they'll go there for their second date. Some married couples go there. I mean, arcades are just a place to relax, have fun, and play some games. But as we talk about all the fun things, you have to talk about the dark side. So hikikomori is a person who lives in extreme isolation. We have a picture of one on the right. Um, Now, this doesn't only apply to youth. It can go anywhere up to 60-year-olds, 70-year-olds. They live alone with their parents. Um, they don't work. They never really leave the house. They might go online, do stuff. It's very, I mean, it's very different from person to person. But it's more of they have various anxiety disorders and all these things where they really just don't feel like they can work. And then the other term I have is actually a more recent term, which is NEET, which stands for not in employment, education, or training. So it's the people who don't have jobs, don't go to school, really don't do anything. They just sit at home, play video games, watch TV, go on the internet, do all these things. And this term is actually, because it's more recent, it's more of a young adult term. Um, and the big difference in most people's opinion is that a NEET is someone who could go out get a job, could go out and get a education, but they choose not to for whatever reason. It's that they choose not to. Whereas a hikikomori is um, more of a disorder. Actually, it's more a mental thing that it's like you really like your mental might hurt you in trying to get a job or trying to get education, whereas a NEET is more of a choice. So um, here are my sources. I want to thank everybody for watching, uh, and so yeah, I'll see you guys next time.